Hello everyone, my name is Faisal Ali, and let's see today another module or another topic which is Ansible. Ansible, in fact, very important for DevOps topic or DevOps technology stack. Other different, of course, other things available in the market. So one of the famous competitor of Ansible, you can say, is the Terraform, but Terraform is mostly deal with the infrastructure as a code. For example, when you need to have some infrastructure built in for configuration management, actually you need mostly Ansible, well known, and there are a couple of reasons why we need that, and there are a couple of reasons we use that, and why it's very famous. And shortly, I will tell those. Number one. So number second thing is that the good thing about that is it's open source and it's free of cost as well. So the prerequisite for using this is a strong background of Linux and of course source management system, and it's good if you have understanding of Jenkins if you're talking about software development lifecycle. So let's start with the understanding that why actually we need Ansible at all. So let me just give you an example here that, for example, we are talking about any company which is a big company or enterprise level. For example, we have Meta organization, and Meta actually uses different stuff here. For example, they use Facebook as an app, then they use WhatsApp apps as an app, and then, for example, Instagram is also their legacy application. Now, if we talk about any software development cycle, we have discussed many times in the past that, of course, for the continuous integration and continuous development, whatever you do here. So this is actually, for example, the development environment, and or the source code or whatever you can call it. And this source code actually need to deploy your application on different environment. Let's say like that we have development environment down the line, and then second is the pre-prod, and finally we have full-fledged production environment, or sometimes we can have beta testing, feature testing, so many different development environment. So yeah, and this is the source code or version control system, right? And we need to deploy this, for example, to the dev environment. Sometimes we need to deploy to pre-prod as well continuously, for example. And then we also sometimes needs to do a same thing actually in the production environment. Right, we can say that, well, great, this is dev in, this is, for example, pre-prod, we can say, and we can also say this is final production environment, right? So these are nothing but a computer server, right? And we can say that there are some dependencies requirement always. For example, our code is written in Python or maybe in Java. For Java, for example, because we are taking the example of Java already, let's take the similar example. For example, Java SDK version 9 here. Then we need might be some other stuff to be installed. For example, Python version 3.6 here. So for example, in in the second, we have it's quite possible that we have quite possible that we have different version here. For example, version here is version 10, and the Python version is the latest version, which is for example Python 10 here. And there are many other different, for example, dependencies, requirement, the list goes on and on. So similar stuff sometimes happen with this scenario as well. So now the thing is that this stack is just a stack for example Facebook or app part one. Okay, so now for example we have taken this example already, and I'm taking the copy beneath it here, right? I create a copy of it here, and I say this is something uh, WhatsApp, right? I'm saying this is actually WhatsApp here, right? That is Facebook and WhatsApp, right? And the list could goes on and on. Well, now the fundamental problem we got here is that, for example, this is Facebook, and then there is Insta, and there are, for example, five or three different or six different server. Might be there are other environment as well. So we have seen in the previous tutorial. I refer you to go back if you want to. If you want to practice or you want to learn that how you can deploy a different life cycle of product by testing it, doing some unit testing, or continuous integration, and then how you can do a continuous deployment. So we have discussed those continuous deployment stuff in detail. So after we have continuous deployment, then the first second step is how you can deploy those application onto a different server. For example, we have development server, pre-prod, prod, or testing server, or maybe sometimes there are 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 10 or 15 different server to test different stuff. For example, one team is working on the beta feature where they're only testing something, and they have 3 subset of those environment to just test one feature. For feature 2 of the same app, actually somebody is testing something in the pre-prod. If these features are passing the user interaction or user are happy with it, and some marketing team or analytic team tells you some features that, well, the new feature of this Facebook XYZ is getting well renowned and famous in the public, and so there are practical use cases where you end up managing, for example, 10 to 20 or 30 server. Well, great. These server are exactly doing same stuff. Fundamentally, they need the same stuff and same code to run the application, because application is same. This application is same, and this application, all the environments are same. Under the one application, the prerequisite installation and stuff, if I want to create a copy of this one, copy of this one, and copy of this one, it should be essentially the same thing, right? And intrinsic underlying structure of that app and technology is same, only some feature are changing here, which means that source code is changing a little bit. So which means that in the end you might be end up with a lot of different server to manage. This was the story, the essential part of story. Well, if I say you that please go ahead and install some stuff, and you just log into this dev server, you say pip install or sudo apd install this server, Python 3.6, and then you come to know, okay, well, this version is a little bit different from here, and then you make to install same script here. So here the human error possibility or vulnerability is very high, number one. Second thing, the consistency principle cannot be maintained due to too much variation, right? And the third thing, it is highly time-consuming stuff and tedious task. So now, great. It's very hard to manage because you have a lot of stuff, and there is replication of the stuff you need to do. You need automation, right? Out of no box, if anybody asks you that what is the solution, and you instantly would say that we need somehow automation. So when you say automation, the one thing comes in your mind that, well, We can write a shell script or bash script actually. And okay, great. And then we can go to the file and we run the bash script, which is pretty much same. Well, this is in option, great. But again, there is a lot of manual work, which means that you need to go to each computer and you need to install some specific stuff or files. And still, there should be a more smarter way. And when we talk there should be a more smart way, then comes into the picture the thing Ansible. Well, this Ansible tool is written in the Python, similar that Jenkins is written in Java. So no harm, you can write a tool in any language, but what is the philosophy or intrinsic benefit and how their use is the important? Which means Jenkins is the very famous tool for CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous development or deployment, whatever you can call it. And well, Ansible is a configuration management tool, configuration management tools. So all this stuff, for example, you have seen might be Puppet or Chef or many other different tools you might have seen on the DevOps hit list. These are all tools are the management configuration management. Why we say configuration? Because whatever we are doing on the server actually, which is a repetitive task and which is tedious task, we want to overcome this is the configuration. So installing a Python on somewhere or maybe giving some permission to all the server, this is repetition, but ultimately this is something configuration, right? And it could become under a system administration task or it could become under the DevOps task, because the ultimate goal of the DevOps developer is to make the code work and operationalize and enterprise level unique to that. So, well, if you ask about very quickly that why the Ansible is number one choice, there are due to its intrinsic style of writing. Number one, it's very easy to understand. It is written in the Python, which is easy to understand language on the first hand, and second, it's widely used by the especially data science and many people by now. And third, and so the community support is very strong, which means that this language is going to grow. And it is always a good idea to have some knowledge or build your tool in the language which is widely accepted by the community, which means that there might be many more different tools, integration possibilities, and other stuff in hand. So, but this is not the salient feature. The salient feature of this architecture of the Ansible. Ansible runs on the master node, and master nodes are connected to the worker nodes, or let's say like that, these server, prod 1, dev, prod, pre-prod, these server, right? And it need to do some configuration on these files, right? We can say that, well, this is over dev computer, this is pre-prod, we call it pre-prod, and we call it prod. We have this much server for ease. We just take 3 server, 1, 2, and 3 nodes where or worker we can say, where we want to do some configuration. And this is Ansible. Ansible master node. This is Ansible. I'm writing with the mouse actually. It's very hard. Sorry for that. This is Ansible master node, and this Ansible master node is throwing some configuration on the top right. This is easier actually. Well, great. And now, okay, why not if I do that? Stuff like that, right? Or I can say that please delete this here, pre-prod and then prod. Right. Production environment. Great. Now the cool thing about about Ansible is that there is no master agent communication with help of agents. Normally, when you talk about any sort of configuration management tool or any other tool which work in the style of master worker nodes, the only communication way is to that you configure the agent here in the master, and you copy this agent, you paste this agent to the nodes where you want to do configuration, and you paste all them here. And when you paste them here, actually, then the script is written in the agent, which automatically runs the agent. Agent need to connect here, and normally it's connect, and then it's get some instruction from the masters what to do. Well, this is the agent-based mechanism, but the great thing about Ansible is that it is agentless. Agentless means that there is no agent needed. Only what is needed here. Here you need SSH tunnel or SSH communication. And SSH communication is very beautiful that you just here in the master node write the IP of dev, IP of pre-prod, and IP of prod. Great, you do that, right? And when you do that, it's automatically keep and again the user as well. U1, U2, U3, U1, U2, and U3. Sometimes you can also, for simplicity, name keep the username same for all the nodes. Great, you have done. And then whatever you do here, for example, you have different modules and different command line. In the command line, you can just say that write the Ansible and then all, and then please run the shell script, some arguments. An argument is actually, for example, echo uname uname/a, or any command, any Linux command. You can when you provide that on the terminal shell of this master, or might be the good idea is to create some file, or you can say that please touch myconf.txt. And the moment you supply this command, it automatically creates a new file name conf.txt on all these three instances. So that is the principal idea behind it. Now it's done. Great. So the next thing is to just create a virtual machine by name of node 1, node 2 in master. And for the sake of ease, we will just create two nodes. Ultimately, the concept of 2 or 20 is same, but we'll create two nodes, and then I will show you that how you can do configuration hand-ons and how you can install stuff. Okay, so let's gather some commands here. Okay, I'm taking some time to create a prod master test in the VirtualBox box because it's easy. And let me do it, and then when it's done, I'll get back. Well, as you can see, that setup is now completed, and let's go here and try to install Ansible actually. Well, this is our master VM. We can write sudo apt get update first. So this is necessary step number 1. Then we need to add this repository of Ansible PPA, and this is the necessary step, right? And okay, that was already there. Might be Ansible is already there because it's 24. Ubuntu 24 is the most upgraded version by now. Let's see what this does. Okay. Okay, it's taking a bit of time, which means in the meanwhile we can also run this second node here. There is no need to run a node right now, but I will show that what we need to do actually. Once the Ansible is installed, then we gonna see that they are in the same network. They must be in the same network, or if they are not in the same network, they need to be have public IP address, or if they have single public IP address connected with many servers, then you need port forwarding. So for example, that is sometimes the case in your home network where your home router has a public API, but there are 5 laptops connected to there. If you want to access public IP, and then you can port your maps that, well, whatever traffic's on this port, for example, coming from the outside world, please send the traffic to this port. So that's how you can map it. But if you're working in the cloud, you could easily get a public API. This is not a problem. Now it's taking a bit of time, so I am gonna pause. Well, great. It turns out that it took a little bit longer, but yeah, it's working now. So I have just provide this command sudo apt get install Ansible. It's going to take some while. It's going to check the Python version and all other dependencies. Good. And we can might be also check the Ansible version as well once it's done. Okay. Okay, cool. As you can see that if we see here and see Ansible version, Ansible version. No. It should give us something like Jinja YAML 2.16.3 for the Ansible, which means that on our master node, Ansible is running perfectly fine. Here, if you open the terminal, so the name is user prod, and there is dev pro, there is user prod, user dev, add dev. We need to configure in the system, which we'll do soon, or I can use existing node, but the name would be a little bit different than that. And then I get IP address, and I add my host to my ECT Ansible masters, right? That's what I need to do for the next step. And what I do here, that just let me run the second node. It's gonna be very heavy. But yeah, might be that should work. Great. And then I need to configure SSH between these computers. So I will show you in a moment that if SSH is not configured, how you can configure them. So these are on these server, in those nodes we need SSH client, but SSH open server we need there. Okay, we have already configured this, which means that IP assigned to it already. Great, we can create a user, but it's okay. But the next thing is that we need to create SSH, and might be we also need to create server passwordless authentication as well for these, because when you go there and do SSH, sometimes you need to have in the sudo file, you have to permission that you don't give the password all the time. Yeah, but you can do it. Okay, we'll see it. Okay, great guys. Our setup is finished, and ultimately this is our VirtualBox where we have simply created with this new test environment. For example, we are thinking that this is a different computer on the infrastructure of any organization, and then there is a production environment where actually real-time application look like, and then master node is node where actually your Ansible is installed. And you have seen how we can install Ansible. Perfect. So then we have opened this master node here. As you can see on the top of the VirtualBox, the name master node running, node 1 which is prod is running, and node 2 which is test is running. So these are the three infrastructure. Great, this is good. Now for any kind of setup, actually what we need is that Ansible, as we have discussed in the theoretical background, that it's a pushing base mechanism where it's try to connect to the nodes with the help of SSH. Right, great. So first thing first, we need to make sure that OpenSSH is installed. Right, OpenSSH server is installed. It's already installed here. So similarly, sudo apt install OpenSSH dash server. So great. So it's also installed here, and it's also installed here. The OpenSSH is installed. When you install, there are some. It's gonna create some stuff actually here. The thing is that we always need to go to, for example, I'm in the home directory and I want to go to .ssh. This is the directory, like cd.ssh, and I can see that there are some authorized keys here, and here the story is similar. So what you can do is that you can create public-private key pairs, as you know that. You can Google it if you don't know. This is a concept of security used by SSH, that you create a RSA-based SSH with SSH keygen stuff. Right? When you hit enter, it's gonna create your key. And we have written this also in the notes. SSH keygen. This is the exit command, and then well, you can easily create this. The next step is that you always want to know okay, you always want to know the IP address of both machines. Well, if I write here, it tells me that inet, this is the IP, and this should be here the IP address again. Okay, it's kind of messed up, but this is the IP address here, and this is the IP address here on top, and we are good to go. First thing first, we always need to check that if the communication actually working great. And the very easy method is to always use ping, which means that our setup is completely able to communicate with each other. And in this similar fashion, if I copy this here, and if I replace this here with just Ctrl+Shift+C, it shows me that the net communication between these two is good. With SSH keygen, I can create a key, and with this key is stored, I can go to again cd.ssh here, and here if I ls, as you can see that this is there should be public key and private key. So this is my private key. This I should never tell anyone anyhow. And this is actually my public key. And if I get id rsa.pub, and it is something similar to this thing. What we want to go here, and we come to here, and we want to copy them to authorized code, and the command To do that is copy SSHD like that. You always write copy SSHD and hit enter. So it's directly, and you replace the IP address for the both of the machine and the username. And in the end, if I get my authorized key here, you can see that the same master key, which I can simply also copy here, is perfectly same. There is no difference at all practically. So practically no difference actually. For example, why this thing is actually not maximized? Okay, and so this is perfectly same here. .ssh cd .ssh, and I see here, and if I get this authorized stuff, and this should look exactly the same. There is one master key and there is one another master key from my Linux, but they don't conflict with each other, which is perfectly fine. I have two nodes which are able to which have OpenSSH on both, and they are able to communicate with each other both, which is the great thing for now. The second thing is that when you install actually your Ansible, there should be a configuration file in the etc Ansible. Should look like something like that. If not, you need to, or you have to create this. You can go to Google. This is simply that what is your inventory host look like, and where is your remote default user, and some other stuff in this. And if I again ls and I get hosts, or maybe I sudo nano hosts. Well, great. What I do, I write here the node name here. The node name could be anything. Here I write my nodes, nodes, mine nodes, whatever I want. And again, for the node 1, I can write this is node 1. This is node 2. You can choose as this as well. This you cannot choose. This is Ansible host, and this is the IP address of exactly same for VM UBT. If I come here and write, this is the IP address, which exactly I write here, this IP address, and Ansible user parameter I have set this user. Simply uname, uname. I'd say uname, and then might be uname.h or host name. I don't know. Or host name. Okay, host name is Nitro. This is computer name, and this is the username. Anyhow, and I have repeat the same stuff for my second node. And if you have 100 nodes, you just copy here and paste here, save this file, hit enter. Cool. Now the next step would be to check that if there is connection between these two or not, right? How you can do this actually? The very easy way is to when you have configured all this stuff, you have your inventory list here that all the computer name or your infrastructure, production infrastructure, your testing, your beta testing, whatever number of configuration server you have where your application is running, you can just name them here. And then you first of all check that your Ansible connect or not, right? And this is the command for checking Ansible, where you write Ansible. My node is the name of node which we have written in the host file. .m is to check the configuration, and ping is the .m is the module name. Now the another story, that what is the module name? Module name is nothing but the Python written code in the Python file which does something for Ansible as a module, and you can run this module under the Ansible. So great. Here you can see that this is node 1 success, node 2 success, which means that they are just able to connect, and against the ping the response is JSON pong, which means it's successful. Now great. Let me just now tell you that how actually you can, for example, you have 100 server and you want some configuration, how you can do it very efficiently. I will give one single example here, but we'll do more in-depth detail and practical tutorial with practical industry standard project to get to know that how this is usable. But there are 3000 or 4000, I don't know, module for that Ansible. Every module is something like a Python written code, especially for something. There is a lot of depth here, but you don't need to know everything by heart. But of course, you have documentation. You can check it. There's a community support. You can also consult it and do some stuff. But over the passage of time, when you are going to do stuff for as a practically for industry, then you get used to know more and more tools, and in the end, no need to memorize them. But let me just show you that how you can actually do this. Like do some configuration on the server, regardless if it is 2 server or 100 server. Let us just create a script or write a script which create a new file in the home folder of the each node. For example, the production and development. Okay, great. So let's create a file with file module. There are different modules for everything, and here is the syntax. Very easy syntax. What we are doing. Ansible is a command already. My nodes is the node we have defined. M means that you need to run some module. There are 3000 module. You can choose any one of them. We have chosen a file here to create a file. A means the argument, whatever argument you want to use. And in the parentheses, in the inverted commas, I wanna say that path home, and then username, whatever username is defined in the Ansible, and you have to code them in double parentheses, curly braces, and inside curly braces you can write similar to Python concept of f string. And then I am saying that, well, please create example.txt, and state is touch means that with the help of touch. Great. If I do that, and here it's saying that you have some file change in node 2, node 1. This is the path. This is the path of second computer. And if I go to home here, and you can see that here is the example.txt, which is great. I come to here again, and I go to home again, and you can see that example.txt is written. So this is only just one possibility. Imagine that you have to do some configuration files and stuff actually, which is repeatable, like deploying an app or doing any sort of stuff. And here you need to only do it one time, and it's automatically pushed down the line to all the computer. The last thing here, that you don't need to always sign in or open this window like in a graphical user interface. More practical setting, you can just SSH, for example, SSH VM UBT01 at IP address, or if the local domain name server is okay, you can say Nitro as well. Okay, Nitro, well, Nitro, it doesn't working. Then we need kind of IP address with IPA, and for example, I have this IP address. I can copy this. I can come here and I can say VMUBT UBT01 at this server, and you can see that now I'm on the UBT, right? And here is the same. And if I, for example, set IPA now, it's gonna tell me the same, and I can perform the operation. I can exit, and now I'm back to here. I can also do a similar stuff. I have this IP address of my machine here, and I can SSH again to my user prod at the rate, this IP, right? And now you can say that I'm in the prod already, which is same here. And if I now check my IP address, it should be exactly the same, which is here, somewhere here. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. Down the line, you can go to the Ansible tutorials and you can watch different tutorials and stuff. And there are different modules. You can always see that. What are the module and possibilities. You can do most of the stuff, even with the Amazon Cloud and Azure and GCP. You can create your resources from scratch. It is in deep stuff, but this is the bare minimum or basic configuration how you can do this stuff. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned, and in the next session we are gonna go in depth with practical project. Bye.